well-decorated wrestler.
Yes, and just as you say that, he almost went in for the takedown. And good understanding of when it didn't work to actually try something else. That's the important thing with wrestling. It's not always the first shot, it's the reshoot. It's the reshoot. Here, he has to get his neck out of there because his opponent is going for those takedowns. And now, battering.
Yeah, big strikes from Godin, and Basra winds up on top and adds an elbow to the mix. It was Godin with the first takedown. Basra was quickly up, and now firing shots from the top, trying to get in there. Quickly go out, now a triangle attempt from the bottom, with Basra, no surprise there, picks him up and slams him to the ground. Justin Basra still just had the one arm in, but now passes and is in to a north-south position, and an upside-down triangle here from Godin.
Inverted, to say the least. It's not quite working, it seems, but it actually, now with that being said, his head looks really red at this point. Even if it doesn't work, he's doing great at passing over, staying calm, but I can see just the agony in his face, because even if it doesn't work, it sucks.
So an inverted triangle here, Justin Basra being held by Thomas Godin after a big slam and a scramble, and now a thumbs up for the official from Basra, as if to say he's all right in this north-south position. But you got to think you can't be in that position too long if you're Justin Basra. Now Godin gives up the submission, feeling as though it wasn't going to get him there, and now Basra hitting him with a knee.
Yeah, and this is a great place for Basra to be, but with that being said, look, you have it, Thomas just switching it over, and he needs to get his head out. It's really gonna be a scramble. Who gets to be in the dominant position now? You have Thomas. See, that's what he needs to not do. There's something, obviously, to commit to a punch, but if you commit too much, you give up your hips, and that's where Basra takes full advantage and lands in guard on top.
Well, you could see it was almost as though Godin was trying to push through, and Basra was able to use his momentum to roll him over and wind up on top.
Yes, again, that's called turning the corner, and what you want to do is the path of least resistance. That's an awkward position. He's trying to push his hips out, and same thing, there's a lot of parallels in regards to what didn't work in regards to Thomas pushing through and what just happened there. If you're in the wrong position, sometimes someone says no, whether it's hips, whether it's a shoulder for a blast double, or just punches in the face like we're seeing.
And now Basra really working the ground and pound against his flattened opponent. He had his back, now Godin rolls back into him. Basra continuing to drop punches. Referee right on top of the action as Godin still defending, but there are a lot of punches coming here from Basra.
Yes, this is showing Thomas Godin's inexperience, where he's just letting him to tee off on him. It's him quitting. He needs to connect those hips. See how flat he is? It's not him. Again, he's fighting because he's consciously not, let's say, unconscious with all the blows, but it's death by 1,000 cuts, and this is gonna add up. And here you see him trying to shrimp, but too little, too late. There's a lot of Basra just teeing off with those elbows. There you see a very good use of just, oh, there's a cage hold. Obviously the ref stepping in and saying that's a faux pas, but this bought him some time, and Thomas is able to survive, but he needs to get up. He needs to get up and try and transition, and not just let this happen where Basra's teeing off on him with elbows. Probably the worst.
Elbows coming from the top from Justin Basra. Just over a minute remaining in the first round. It was back and forth for the first few minutes, but the last two, it's been all Basra on the top, landing damage, and now punches to the midsection in that north-south posture up, and now he's back into side control where he can impose his will on his opponent with just over a minute, or just under a minute to go now.
Yes, kudos to Thomas for surviving that, but you gotta think this is only the first round, and Basra is still on top with less than a minute, but a lot can happen in a minute.
Yeah, there's been submission attempts from Godin from the bottom, inverted triangle. He looked for the heel hook at one point, but Basra was able to squirt out of that, and Basra's just been landing punches from here, and you gotta think that if you're Thomas Godin, you had a promising start to this round, but Basra has swarmed him ever since.
I think oh, there you go with another attempt at the choke slash transition, or trying to sweep him, but here again, he gives up his back and doesn't fight for it. There are moments in between every single transition where each opponent, each fighter rather, has an opportunity to inflict their game plan. In many ways, the fight starts all over again, but here you have Basra just taking it to Thomas. I was gonna make a Wayne's World comment and say game on, but hell yeah, the game's on.
Yeah, Justin Basra certainly knew that. He came out firing punches, and you got to think when a guy's got a wrestling background like he does, you got to be thinking he might be looking for the shot right away, and you can really get a guy down with a couple punches, and that's what Basra was able to do here.
Yes, much of the same in the second round as in the first. Basra all on top, taking the lead, looking for the elbow possibly, trying to posture and get either his elbow in or get a knee in, knee on belly, transition into from side control to full mount to half guard, whatever the case may be. And here, knees in between, only to hide the eventual mount.
Yeah, nice transition there from Basra, who had been laying his elbow down on the face of his opponent. Godin in trouble, taking punches here. He's taking damage, Elias. I'm not sure he's going to be able to do that for that much longer. Those elbows coming up and driving the head of Thomas Godin down into the mat. Justin Basra is doing work from the top.
Doing work and doing a lot of it. Many different directions. Again, we've talked about it where it doesn't have to be pretty. Just kind of pieces need to land. I think this is the real difference between striking, standing up, and striking on the ground. It can be just grueling, gross, and painful when you're on the ground, but it has to be more concise for the most part. Obviously, there's such thing as, a puncher's chance and the variables of a kick coming out of somewhere you didn't expect it. But here is where you want to be ugly, mean, and violent.
Well, it's not as if you can swing from the hips when you're down on the ground either. Justin Basra now up and dropping punches every time Godin tries to move his hands away. Justin Basra suggests that is a bad idea, and he is a bad man at doing bad things from the top here. Justin Basra has dominated this second round.
Yes, he has, and there you have it in control. Again, Thomas is trying to hold him down so those elbows don't come, so no more advances in position. But here he is. You can see he's just exhausted with someone. Just now at this point, I think it's like 7 minutes of just barraging attacks from top and, more importantly, using gravity. This is where you want to fall into your punches. It allows you to not only hurt your opponent, use less energy, being more efficient with it, and you know what? Falling into the necks. You can hide, like we saw Basra doing, whether it was going for a knee and then going into the next position. This is where a fight could be stopped any second if Basra just keeps on laying it on him. Again, you don't want to take anything away from the will of Thomas, but in many ways, how much more does he have left?
Well, yeah, and now the knees coming hard into the midsection of Thomas Godin, but right back up to his feet. He's ready to take on Justin Basra, or at least he's ready to stand up and stop taking the punishment. Now a jumping knee, and Basra swinging away. Godin tries to swing out and land one. What a fight between these two young men as Justin Basra, a jumping knee there, and transitions it into a double leg takedown. Justin Basra doing work here in round number 2.
Yes, and both of these fighters are very much showing veteran moves on both ends. You have Basra been very much teeing off and throwing different looks, and you have the heart of a lion in Thomas. But Thomas needs to move. But now it's over.
This fight is over. Justin Basra puts a dominant second round into this one.